Bring in now our Fox News chief national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin. She is in our Washington newsroom watching this with us. Jennifer?
Sandra, every president says that this is the most difficult thing that they have to do during their presidency, to go to Dover, to meet the families, and to greet the caskets of the fallen, knowing that they have sent these individuals, these soldiers, to war. It weighs heavily on them. We've heard President Trump speak about that in the past. This is the third time that he has been to Dover since the start of the Iran war. There were the 6 service members who were killed early on in the conflict when a drone hit their base in Kuwait. There were the 6 service members who died in the KC-135 air refueling plane that went down over Iraq. And now today we have these 4 other soldiers. First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, we're learning more about his life from his family. His family in Utah has set up a scholarship fund for ROTC students at his former alma mater, the University of Southern Utah, with the death gratuity, the $100,000 that each service member will be given by the Department of War. And his family has decided to devote that to future service members. He was supposed to return home and get married. His family remembers him as an adventurer. He went to Mount Everest Base Camp. He hiked the Camino Trail. He was planning to come home and get married. Then there was Private Isabella Gonzalez, just 19 years old. She just graduated last year from high school. She told her English teacher just before she was graduating that she planned to enlist so that she could eventually go to college. She's from northern Texas, from Carrollton, Texas. Sergeant Michael Swinton, his wife, from Fayetteville, North Carolina. He was stationed at Fort Bragg. His wife, Mia, posted a heart-rending post on Facebook showing him hugging his 4-year-old daughter. It was the last picture she would take of him through the car window in his uniform as he hugged his 4-year-old daughter. He also had a 6-year-old son. He was killed in northern Iraq when they were trying to disable a one-way Iranian attack drone last weekend. And then there is Sergeant Angel Rampersad. We just learned her name and received a photo of her, 28-year-old Angel Rampersad of Queens, New York. She has been described as believed to be dead because her remains have not yet been identified. They will be identified at Dover, but she had been found under the rubble of that drone strike on the Jordanian base. So these 4 American heroes have returned to Dover. The president, the Secretary Hegseth, as well as the Army Secretary Dan Driscoll were there to greet them, as well as General Dan Kane. They spent about 3 hours with the family members. That's what they do before we see this ceremony and the flag-draped caskets come out of the back of that plane. They spend time individually with those family members. So a heartbreaking moment today at Dover Air Force Base.
Wednesday, 22 July, year of the Lord 2026. That was a dignified transfer. I want to thank Jennifer Griffin over at Fox as we were monitoring all the coverage. I thought she did such a great job that we pulled that clip. For the honored dead, the dignified transfer, and obviously it's very intense when they go meet the families beforehand for fallen servicemen, and I think kind of cloudy of how we're going to go forward in this. A lot of back and forth today on this discussion. President Trump said, "Hey, for every troop killed, we're going to take out another brush." Excuse me, every vessel that is fired upon, we're going to take out a bridge or an electric power plant. A lot of discussion on where we go from here. Do we have Luke on? Luke Nicastro? Yes. Luke joins us. Luke, you're over at the American Conservative with Kurt Mills. Is that correct?
That's right, Steve.
And you used to be part of Josh Hawley's team over in the Senate?
Yes, I was his national security advisor until the end of June.
So, and what your background in national security? Did you go to college? You get a degree in this? How did you become? Because Josh Hawley has a reputation of having a great staff. How did you get that built?
He does. So I got a graduate degree in international relations, and I worked for some time in the Department of the Navy, I also worked at the National Defense University and did some contracting. So I did a little bit before joining Senator Hawley's team.
I think they had today the vote. It's kind of confusing. They had a rules vote. It didn't get stopped. So I think today the House actually voted on the NDAA. Am I correct on that?
You are, yes. It passed.
So talk to me
about
216, and I think there's some interesting no's on here, but walk me through the controversial, the Section 219. I want to make sure the audience understands this from an expert. What is it? How did it get in here? Some language got changed. You take your time and explain it to us.
Sure. So basically, this is a provision that directs the creation of an official and an office and allocates resources for the merger of elements of the U.S. military establishment and the Israeli military establishment, right? The way that it's been kind of conventionally described in the press is as a merger of the U.S. and Israeli defense industrial bases. So essentially what the House is doing with this provision is creating a single official who is now tasked with taking all kinds of different kind of cooperative programs and efforts, whether it's technology, whether it's intel sharing, whether it's joint exercises, and basically fusing those with what the Israeli military does, what the IDF does.
Well, hold it. Joint exercises. The industrial base is one thing. That's actually, we have many different companies working on air programs, missile programs, submarines, all the equipment that goes on Navy ships. I mean, this is the equipment's kind of legion. Then you have information or intelligence sharing. Then you have like joint operations. Does this 219 incorporate all of that, or is it just? Don't get me wrong. It's the issue of merging the industrial bases is massive in and of itself. But are there other things other than the industrial bases? Is it intelligence, and is it joint operations?
So it's not like joint operational control, but it does make provision for intelligence. It does make provision for information sharing. I mean, the thing to know is that we do a lot of this stuff already, right? The Pentagon already does a lot of cooperative work with Israel. The difference here is that you now have direction from the Congress saying, no, don't just do this, do more of it, right? And by putting it in statute, you make it extremely difficult to ever unwind, right? Because what they're doing right now is basically at the discretion of the president. I mean, historically, the Pentagon has been a little too comfortable kind of doing its own thing, and there's been sort of some kind of like what you could call deep state influences there. But, as a general matter, the president could tomorrow direct them to unwind a lot of this cooperation. And if this Section 219 gets enacted into law, it will be extremely difficult to do that.
Okay, I want to go back to the section itself. The NDAA, let's pull it back for a second. We've talked to the audience a lot about this, but I want to take another shot at it. Cabinet departments, Department of Justice, others, every 5 years, I think, you're supposed to come back and get reauthorized, right? Mm-hmm. We've had EPA has never been reauthorized. I think it's been decades, maybe a century since DOJ. Yeah. Most of the cabinet departments are never reauthorized. They never go through this process. And number one, they just figure this will be a firefight every time, and they don't want to do it, and so they just kick the can down the road. To make sure there's no question whether the National Defense Industrial Complex is going to get their money, they never miss. A must-pass piece of legislation. When you come to Washington on Capitol Hill, you don't have to pass a budget. You don't even have to pass authorizations. All of the stuff that absolutely should be in statute just gets kicked down the road with CRs or omnibuses. They get dumped in. They never do the work. It never really sees the light of day, and those fights never see the light of day. But the NDAA always gets, this is a must pass, and they always say, if you don't do this, the troops are not going to get paid. They're not going to get their payday. And so everybody heaves too. In the NDAA, so is that a correct description of the National Defense Authorization Act?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And the other thing I'll just note is that, the whole process is designed to allow for as little debate as possible, which is why the House is doing this at the back end of its last week before it goes on recess for 5 weeks, right? So,
we have we don't have an alliance with Israel. Israel is technically not an ally because we've never had an alliance. But we do have an alliance, a big alliance with NATO, with the countries of Western Europe, kind of post World War II, and that's expanded to other countries. We have all kind of issues about interoperability in the equipment. What the British defense. Britain's got some great defense companies. France has got some. Italy's got some. Do we have the same type of language? And I understand integration got taken out by Representative Anna Polina Luna at the last second. She fought for that to extract integration, the term integration. But do we have anything even close to being parallel to what we've just passed for Israel with either the United Kingdom or France or Italy or Germany or any other ally that we have?
Yeah, I mean, so the United Kingdom is a good example. I used to work for the Department of the Navy on submarine cooperation, and we have some very strong agreements about nuclear technology, the stuff basically that goes in our submarines and on our nuclear weapons. Like, we share a lot of that. We use the same suppliers. We have like a lot of military industrial integration there. And then there are other like very sort of broad agreements. NATO as a whole, I mean, there's not something quite as extensive just because, it's such a large group of countries. But there are some precedents. But I mean, you're right to note that Israel is not a formal treaty ally. Right. So this kind of
statutory. Hang on. Hey, whoa. Let's go back. So I was in the Pentagon. You have Naval Material Command. There are joint projects we work on. There's the progress about selling submarines to Australia. There are issues we work on with planes and jets and armament and everything. And we work with partners. We work with some companies. And there are carve-outs. There are joint agreements. And we work on these things. But it's still a case-by-case basis. And even, the special relationship we have with the United Kingdom. And remember, we fought the bloodiest war in mankind's history with them as our alliance partner. And then afterwards in the Cold War. But I can still tell you, being in the Navy, we didn't have the same types of ships. They were different. We borrowed some technology. They helped us with gas turbines. And so on all different weapon systems, and sometimes the Brits got a lead on it. Sometimes the French, particularly in aerospace, have a lead on certain things. There are joint programs. There are joint ventures for certain things. But is there anything close to 219 where you have a broad mandate to essentially merge the industrial base, the defense industrial base of the United Kingdom with the United States, or the France with the United States, or Italy or Germany with the United States?
Not that I'm aware of.
So yes, that is a correct answer. So this is pretty unique. And that's why I think people are sitting there going, hang on for a second, what are we doing here? And at first, the language, what they wanted to pass, the language initially said we were going to integrate the industrial bases of the defense industrial bases of Israel in the United States. Walk me through again, walk the audience through again. What will this mean as far as what we actually do by what the statute, how it now reads?
So taking out the integration language was good, but it didn't change a lot of the sort of other problematic aspects of the provision. So you still have a direction, for instance, to cooperate in, I think, 8 or 9 technological areas, and they're pretty broad. I mean, it's like biotech, missile defense, AI, like big, cutting edge areas. And so what that means is that you'll see a lot of sort of sharing of our research and exchanges of our scientists, and basically we're going to give them access to what we have, and they're supposed to give us access to what they have. But there's a certain lack of reciprocity just because we're such a bigger country, right? We have so much more, we've done so much more, and such an expansive scope for this provision. So you're going to see some of that. You'll see joint procurement, right, which is like the integration of some like Israeli suppliers into our supply chains, the integration presumably of American suppliers into Israeli supply chains. It's still quite large in scope. And again, the integration language, that Representative Luna's amendment did cut that. And I think from the perspective of sovereignty, like that definitely is worth noting. But the broader intent of the legislation, or the provision rather, is still intact.
Well, I mean, this goes to our sovereignty. This also goes to about intelligence, national security. I mean, you know, it was just a month or so ago, I think some members, I don't think it was Netanyahu himself, but they leaked to the press that, hey, if the United States is going to give us a hard time here on armaments, you know, India's out there. We got the Chinese Communist Party. They got relationships that are very close to China. This is absolutely an abomination. Let me be blunt. It is out. Anybody that voted for this, if your congressman voted for it, and it's only a handful, and there's some surprising names on there. If your congressman voted for this, you ought to light him up and ask him specifically, how can we do something we've never done before, and why would we do it now? I mean, right now, we should be unwinding the relationship to let Israel stand on its own. Israel is not a protector of the United States, not a vassal state. They're not technically an ally because we don't have an alliance. If they want to march to Beirut, if they want to, disarm Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, if they want to march to Damascus, if they want to march to Tehran, God bless them. That's their right as a sovereign nation, but we should have nothing to do with it. We should make a decision right now. And all we're doing, and this is a cowardly way to do it, to kind of slip this in, because this locks in the United States. You heard Netanyahu, oh, yeah, we don't want any more money. We don't want the 10-year, maybe one more time, one more 10-year MOU. We'll just do one more. They want to go through the back door here. This has to be defeated in the Senate, or it has to be taken out and vetoed because of this. A full debate and explanation in front of the American people, and we can start by you asking your congressman, did you vote for this? And if you voted for it, please walk me through the reasons that you did vote for it. Okay. If you can stick around, Luke, I'd appreciate it. On a day of the dignified transfers, at virtually the same moment, they voted for this. I don't think you can be more outraged than that. Short commercial break. We'll return to the war room in a moment.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
So, Luke, it was 216. I mean, it was a very close vote, but it looks like Josh Breachin of Oklahoma, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Eli Crane of Arizona, Harriet Hageman of Wyoming, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, Chip Roy of Texas, and Tom Massey of Kentucky were the no votes. Some of those are pretty surprising on there, but if they are your representative, I would call them and say, hey, why'd you vote no? I'd like to get some information on that. If they voted yes, I would call them also. Why was there not a debate on this topic? This is not a small thing. This is monumental. We've never done this before. We fought the bloodiest war in the history of mankind with Russia and China and the United Kingdom as our allies. And what China and in Russia provided just in bodies, right? Because we shipped them virtually all the material they fought with. The United Kingdom was a true partner, and I realized the United Kingdom was fighting for their freedom, but also for their empire. There were all kinds of other reasons, but we fought shoulder to shoulder. And then in the Cold War, we've never had this level. Yes, we have joint projects for submarines. We have tons of joint projects because some of the British defense contractors are world class, just like we have some with the French that have defense contractors that are world class, just like the Italians. These certain areas they are experts in, and we have joint projects where we can share technology, or we can learn or cut costs and get lower production costs. And of course, Pete and the team over the Pentagon are doing this massive restructuring of defense at a $1.5 trillion. It ain't cheap, and a lot of this money in this, what they're talking about, the reconciliation, is a kind of down payment so the defense industry can actually move quicker and get up the learning curve faster, so that we can get weapons now just from not the big contractors, but these small entrepreneurs. But to do this is different. This is different. And I don't want to hear the pitch, oh, they're so far advanced in technology. Hey, if it's so great, we'll do it on a project-by-project basis. And if you want to do a bunch of projects, maybe even go into a vertical, this is different. And until Anna Paulina Luna took out the word integration, they wanted an integration of both. And here's why. They understand, Netanyahu and this crowd understands, because of the Israel First Imperial Israel Project that has turned off so many people in this country, including many people who are defenders of Israel, that now that we're saying, hey, look, it's a wealthy nation. They got health care. They pay for college. They got to be stroking checks here. Now that we're saying we're tired of funding this. We want to stop this now. We don't want to go another 10 years, another MOU. They backdoor in a very cunning move to do this, and they didn't want to do it in the broad light of day. This is something they slipped in and went out of their way not to have a debate on this, and this is not acceptable. This all gets back to the sovereignty of this nation. Is it going to be the oligarchs and the big tech guys? Is it going to be the banks? Is it going to be foreign powers? Is the CCP going to come in here and just steal our elections? Or is Israel going to dictate to us through the misinformation that we got in the bad intelligence, not the exquisite intelligence, the bad intelligence that has us where we are today in Iran? Just see what you see in Iran right now. And think about what information, what intelligence got shared at what time to the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief. And I find it ironic on one hand and repulsive on the other, that at virtually the very moment you bring those American citizens back, including people who are kids, you bring them back for a dignified transfer to their families here in the United States at virtually the same moment you vote for this. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. And you ought to be ashamed of yourselves for not bringing this up for a full and complete debate so that the American people understand exactly what they got into. This is no different than the oligarchs trying to slip in all the things they try to do on AI to make sure they had no guardrails at all, no controls at all. And bill after bill, remember, it was the NDAA last time they tried to get it into. This is what they do when they want to hide something. When they want to hide it, they slip it into an NDA and say, well, this is a must pass. The troops aren't going to get paid. You have to do this. We can't go on our 6-week vacation until we get this done. The troops are not going to get paid. Hey, the troops would be fine missing a payday or two to have this debated, So, because it leads to exactly what in the hell are we doing in the Middle East, and who and what are we doing it for? And those questions have to be answered, and they're not going away. If people think you can slip this in, oh, that's going to be fine, it's not going away. Because people in the United States are tired of it. They want to understand what they're paying for. They understand why the defense bill is so big, what is actually the strategy, and who's chipping in. Are the Saudis writing a big check? Is UAE writing a big check? Is Qatar writing a big check? Is Kuwait, Bahrain, Pakistan writing a check? Or are they still opening the 6 overland routes to the Chinese Communist Party, our great allies in Pakistan, our great allies in Saudi Arabia, our great allies in Qatar and UAE, in Bahrain, in Kuwait? We've been there for 47 years now, right? We've been there for 47 years. It's time to ask some hard questions. Luke, any closing thoughts or comments? I really want to thank you and Kurt Mills, the team over American Conservative, following in the steps of Buchanan, right, who started and fought the Iraq War. And God bless if there were more Americans that had his back then, we would have not gotten involved in that debacle. Your thoughts, sir?
Look, I would just echo your comments about sovereignty. I mean, this isn't an anti-Israel thing, right? This is an American sovereignty thing, right? And I think that's why the American people should care. That's why our representatives should care. That's why it was such a disgrace that there wasn't a full debate, that this was kind of rammed through at the last minute. And it's just not, it's not the decent thing to do. And I hope, it could have potentially pretty negative long-term consequences. So as this continues to go to the Senate, goes through conference, we have to really be watching this thing. And there will be one last vote. There will be one vote when this comes out of conference. And so that's, I think, something that's going to be really important to watch. Thank you.
This is not anti-Israel. I'm all for Israel having its sovereignty. Israel should have its own strategic plan and finance its own military. And if we can work on joint projects, if it fits the vital national security interests of the United States, the vital national security interests, maybe we partner up on some things. I don't see anything in Lebanon that has anything to do with the vital national security interests of the United States or in Syria or in Tehran. Now the Republican Party's skipping around and it's going to be, anti-communism is going to be our big theme in November because you've got nothing else. We've warned you about this for years. This didn't happen overnight, what's happening in Manhattan, what's happening in Minneapolis, what's happening in Los Angeles. This is because you're a controlled opposition. We have this problem, and I've lectured over and over and over again. The problems of this nation are not in downtown Tehran. They're in downtown Manhattan. This is about the sovereignty of Israel. If Israel is a sovereign, independent nation, not a vassal state and not a protectorate of the United States of America, wants to take a tank column and drive all the way to Beirut, God bless you. If you want to go to Damascus, God bless you. If you want to go to Tehran, God bless you. Get all these Fox analysts, get General Keane, one of the bravest guys we had and a great vice chief of staff for the United States Army. Give him a field command. He'll take in a second. Put 4 stars on him like the Filipinos put it on MacArthur. He'll be the lead tank. God bless you. Send a postcard from Beirut when you get there. Luke, where do they go for American Conservative? Where do they go for your social media, sir?
So our website, theamericanconservative.com, spells it sounds. And then we're on Twitter as well at AmconMag. And you can follow me at Luke Nicastro.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I want to go back to something. I want you to contact your congressman today. Contact your congressman. Look, the Save America Act, yes, that's very important, but they're playing games with the Save America Act. They're stringing President Trump along. They don't want to do this. You know, it's got to be attached to something. Then they're going to fight it. They had every opportunity to do the standing filibuster, to get back to the old filibuster like you saw in a version of it in the Jimmy Stewart movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Those kind of are what you saw back if you're old enough, or if you've even seen the videos, what they did for the Civil Rights Bill and other bills. I think the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights bills back in the 1960s is kind of historic, where the U.S. Senate became a real debating society. They've had every opportunity to do that. Mike Lee has tried to lead the charge. You've had Senator Schmidt of Missouri and others that have tried to push this. You know, Senator Johnson, others have tried to push this. And it just didn't go anywhere because the Senate leadership doesn't want it to go anywhere. The Senate leadership treats President Trump as a lame duck. Otherwise, why do you not have take some official recess? You're leaving for 6 weeks. Why don't you just declare a recess? Maybe President Trump's can think through a couple of recess appointments. John Cornyn, up until I think mid-afternoon, was holding up the White House on certain ambassador picks, saying, no, I haven't seen appropriations. You haven't funded AIDS, I guess AIDS relief in Africa. AIDS relief in Africa did not meet John Cornyn's standards. This is John Cornyn of Texas. This is John Cornyn of Texas that has an Islamic invasion down there he's never done anything about except, you know, have these videos out on Muslim holidays to thank the Muslims. This is John Cornyn, who didn't lift a finger and fought President Trump every step of the way on the border wall. And the people in Texas understood this. This is why Paxton was up by 10 points. President Trump came in and it was 20-point blowout. As soon as people understood that President Trump didn't have this guy's back, he's the one holding up Kerry Lake and other MAGA types from being ambassadors. Now, I understand that's all worked out, but the Senate has not been cooperative. This is something completely different. And look, you don't even have to oppose this. Let's say you even agree with it. Call your congressman out, and the staff's going to blow you up and say, hey, can I just get some talk? Can you just give me some talking points? Can you give me a readout? What was his thinking of that? I have some questions. We've never done this before. Why are we doing this now? And particularly when you look at these segments, this very sensitive aspects of AI and others, how can we be guaranteed? How can you be guaranteed that it won't somehow leak out to the Chinese Communist Party or even to India, who's not exactly an ally, but in the Indo-Pacific, we're quite aligned against the Chinese Communist Party, but we don't have a formal alliance with India either. How can you do this? Why did you do this? And they say, oh, it's costing. Look, on a case-by-case basis, you can still make a decision on a case-by-case basis on a weapon system, on a platform, on a whole vast array of technology. But not this. And if APO hadn't they wanted, the word was integrate, and that was in there for a long time. They wanted to integrate the two defense industrial bases. Now, why is that? Part of that is just to play into the permanent wars. And I can tell you from the polling, and just the American people are tired. They want to move on. They want to focus on the clear and present danger that is inside the wire here in the United States. If we don't address what Mandami and these folks in Manhattan are doing, if we don't address what is going on in Chicago, if we don't address what's going on in Los Angeles, if we don't address what's going on in Minneapolis and Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and Denver and city after city, if you do not address it now, we are heading towards a civil war. They're playing the John C. Calhoun. They're nullifying federal law in all of those. Doesn't have to happen. Doesn't have to happen. You can stop it now. But you have to have focus, and you have to have opportunity costs. You can't be focused other places. You have to maniacally focus on the invasion that happened in this country because of the stolen election of 2020. It's all quite clear. And all we continue to do is to finance and fund the distractions. See what you see. Who actually controls this country? Who makes the decision? Is it you? Call your congressman up and let him walk you through why you voted for it. Short break.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
I think it's appropriate this time. Here's what I want to do. Since we're not going to have Mike Lindell on tonight, and I need to do more homework on this bombshell he kind of dropped this afternoon, just want to duly give him a note. I don't think governors can mess with federal immigration law, but I'll deal with that after the show as I drill down on exactly what was said. I want to make sure I have a full understanding of this. Because I was dealing with other stuff this afternoon related to other topics that are burning. In fact, we're going to have tomorrow some folks on about AI legislation, other things that are going on that the Warren Posse needs to know about immediately. I think what Jennifer Griffin did was so appropriate today, and let's play Jennifer Griffin again, her in memoriam to our honored dead at Dover today.
Bring in now our Fox News chief national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin. She is in our Washington newsroom watching this with us. Jennifer?
Sandra, every president says that this is the most difficult thing that they have to do during their presidency, to go to Dover, to meet the families, and to greet the caskets of the fallen, knowing that they have sent these individuals, these soldiers, to war. It weighs heavily on them. We've heard President Trump speak about that in the past. This is the third time that he has been to Dover since the start of the Iran war. There were the 6 service members who were killed early on in the conflict when a drone hit their base in Kuwait. There were the 6 service members who died in the KC-135 air refueling plane that went down over Iraq. And now today we have these 4 other soldiers. First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, we're learning more about his life from his family. His family in Utah has set up a scholarship fund for ROTC students at his former alma mater, the University of Southern Utah, with the death gratuity, the $100,000 that each service member will be given by the Department of War. And his family has decided to devote that to future service members. He was supposed to return home and get married. His family remembers him as an adventurer. He went to Mount Everest Base Camp. He hiked the Camino Trail. He was planning to come home and get married. Then there was Private Isabella Gonzalez, just 19 years old. She just graduated last year from high school. She told her English teacher just before she was graduating that she planned to enlist so that she could eventually go to college. She's from northern Texas, from Carrollton, Texas. Sergeant Michael Swinton, his wife, from Fayetteville, North Carolina. He was stationed at Fort Bragg. His wife, Mia, posted a heart-rending post on Facebook showing him hugging his 4-year-old daughter. It was the last picture she would take of him through the car window in his uniform as he hugged his 4-year-old daughter. He also had a 6-year-old son. He was killed in northern Iraq when they were trying to disable a one-way Iranian attack drone last weekend. And then there is Sergeant Angel Rampersad. We just learned her name and received a photo of her, 28-year-old Angel Rampersad of Queens, New York. She has been described as believed to be dead because Her remains have not yet been identified. They will be identified at Dover, but she had been found under the rubble of that drone strike on the Jordanian base. So these 4 American heroes have returned to Dover. The president, the Secretary Hegseth, as well as the Army Secretary Dan Driscoll were there to greet them, as well as General Dan Kane. They spent about 3 hours with the family members. That's what they do before we see this ceremony and the flag draped caskets come out of the back of that plane. They spend time individually with those family members. So a heartbreaking moment today at Dover Air Force Base.
That's Fox News. Jennifer Griffin, you know her. She's the chief national security correspondent. I thought excellent job there. And also talking about what happens at Dover, the hours with meeting the families and discussing with the families, et cetera. Obviously a very traumatic moment for the families. We are going to, tomorrow at 10 a.m., we're going to have a lot. First of all, we've got a lot on the Iran war and what's kind of the bid in the ask, where this thing is headed, particularly also the financing of it. What is the status of this NDAA? What does this all mean? What does the defense bill mean? How does it fit into everything else? Because I think right now that on Capitol Hill is just all this confusion every day of what is actually happening, what's not happening. We need to try to become the still point in the turning world so you can understand it. Because it's in times of this confusion where all kind of deals try to get swept in, and it's going to be bad enough. They're going to come back. They need a CR. They may actually try to do it, although the Senate's got a big supposedly difference in the House. They're going to try to already. I told you months ago they're going to do a CR that's going to take us from September 30th, the end of the fiscal year, through the end of the year, and then you're going to get jammed up with an omnibus. The problem with this is that it gets you back to the spending of Biden and Pelosi because you haven't passed an authorization act, which is actually a law. So Russ Vought hasn't had a chance to really do any significant cuts. And like we said and projected last year, at this time, or maybe a little later in August and September when this is being talked about, we said, hey, they're going to do a full year CR. And that I think that happened by the time it happened in January, I think, or right in December. It's going to lead to a $2 trillion deficit. What deficit we had so far? We've had a $1.4 trillion deficit for the first 9 months. Who's reporting that? Not War Room. Those are not our numbers. Those are the numbers of the Treasury Department. It's going to get to 1.8 or 2. I think in addition to what we're talking about now, this $350 billion reconciliation. Anyway, we'll get to all that in the morning. I want to thank Birch Gold, our sponsor, particularly our sponsors today, as we decided to avoid most of the sponsors' reads because of the gravitas of the situation with the dignified transfer at Dover of these of the honored dead from the Iran war. We'll be back at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Stick around. Harnwell's going to pick up here a fantastic show he's got in store, so don't miss that. We're back here on the main RAV channel at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I want to thank Birch Gold. Take your phone out, particularly if you have an IRA or 401 and you want to maybe roll it into a gold IRA. Those things exist, and it's Birch Gold and give you all the information. Phone. Take your phone and text Bannon, BANNON, 989898. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team. Did such a great job on Saturday. Talk a little bit more about that in the morning. See you back here at 10 a.m. We'll be back in the morning.